As you see, I am the coordinator of the Interaction, Visualization, Usability and User Interface Laboratory at the University of Bari in Italy. Bari is also a Stalin on the sea, it's on the Adriatic Sea in front of Albania, and is more or less same latitude of Naples, which is on the other coast, on the west coast of Italy. I'm not so young. I've been in the university since the latest 70s, and I actually I was working in the first part of my life on image processing, computer vision, but then during at the end of the 80s, 89, 90, I started working on a topic that at that time was very advanced, visual interfaces for databases. So this because I met all the community of people who were talking about visual languages as a new way for improving the human interaction with the computers. So we started working on this, and in '92 we organized in Italy the first conference on human-computer interaction that was a new discipline in Italy at that time, and it was called AVI, Advanced Visual Interfaces, because visual interfaces were the main type of interface at that time. The conference was very successful and is now in cooperation with the ACM, and the proceedings are available in the ACM Digital Library. Is a conference which is run every 2 years, always in Italy, but with an international participation, and is very well considered internationally. I want to mention this because the next edition will be just in May 2012, so next May, and the deadline for submission is middle of December, and very likely there will be also an industrial track, because we are very much interested in working with companies and in making a reality what we say, this transfer, innovation transfer from academia to industry. Usability, we started, we got interested when you do human-computer interaction, you have to consider usability, because you want to have products that people who use them find very useful. So today, my presentation in this will address the use of usability engineering methods in the practice of the software development. So I'm pleased that there is this variety of audience here, and I hope you will find interesting what I will tell you. I will briefly go about on this concept of usability engineering, which actually should be very well known. They are well known within the HCI community, but at this time should be also well known among software developers. They are concepts addressed in many standards, ISO, and but unfortunately, my experience in working with the companies is that all the research in HCI that has been carried out since 13 years now has yet little impact on companies, and this may be one reason why many products we use now are still very bad designed. And I will present the results of a survey we have performed in Denmark and in Italy, so in very different countries, on the impact of usability on the software development practice. Usability engineering is the title of a book that Jacob Nielsen wrote almost 20 years ago. Jacob Nielsen is one of the guru of usability, and in his book he presents different methods of usability engineering, and of course he provides his definition of usability. As shown in the picture, he says that the acceptability of a system depends on many factors such as cost, compatibility with other systems, and reliability. It mainly focuses on usefulness of the system, that he decomposed in utility of the system for the utility for the activities the system has to support, and primarily on the usability. And usability is a multidimensional concept that he decomposes along 5 dimensions. So the system has to be easy to learn, easy to use, easy to remember. He has to prevent users from making errors, and he has also to please users. So users have to feel satisfaction in using the system. So there are many definitions of usabilities. I think the best is to look at a standard, the standard developed within the HCI community, that is the 9241, and the definition on usability provided in this Part 11 guidance on usability is the extent to which a product can be used by specified users to achieve specified goals with effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction in a specified context of use. So usability is not a universal concept. It depends very much on the users, on their goals, on their context of use. And the usability dimension in this ISO standard are effectiveness, efficiency, and satisfaction, but we may easily understand that there is not much difference with the Nielsen's definition. They both address explicitly user satisfaction, but in order to be effective and efficient, a system has to be easy to understand, learn, use, and so on. Another well-known standard, maybe a standard which is well-known within the community of software engineers, is the 9126, which refers to software product quality. So the standards emphasize the importance of designing for quality, focusing on features that can help create products which are effective, efficient, and satisfying for the intended users. The standard address various software qualities, and usability is one of those, and is defined as the capability of the software product to be understood, learned, used, and also attractive to the user when used under specific conditions. So different definition, but the essence is the same. And again, the emphasis on some sub-characteristics of usability that you see actually, you see here, these are the main quality factors of a software system and their sub-characteristics. And for usability, we have understandability, learnability, operability, attractiveness, and usability compliance. So it's this ISO 9126 has been, all ISOs are continuously updated. And more recently, beside internal qualities and external qualities, also some quality in use have been introduced, which of course impact primarily the people who are using the system. And the quality in use has again some sub-characteristics, which has effectiveness, productivity, safety, and satisfaction. So several qualities. I don't have time to go into the details of this, but my point is that, my experience is that software engineers pay much more attention to some of these qualities and unfortunately less to usability so far. Actually, usability, there are here some people who design for the web, and usability is, you can imagine, very important for web application. Actually, in a study of some years ago, usability was scored as the second most important property of a website. This study was done by Stephen Pemberton and published on the Interaction magazine of the, which is the magazine of the ACM CCI group. The study considered a very large sample of people, 80,500, and the survey, the goal of the survey was to understand why people choose to go to one website rather than another that offers the same things. And among the different qualities that were listed and people had to select, good content was the one who was scored the most. 75 of the respondents say good content is important, but usability was also mentioned by the users as very important, and then download speed and freshness of content. And all of the other properties that were mentioned, they scored lower than 14%. So, I'm talking about usability, but today we don't talk only about usability, but about user experience. Today we don't just use technology. We live with it much more deeply than ever before. We are aware that interacting with technology involves us emotionally, intellectually, and sensually. So people who design, use, and evaluate interactive systems need to be able to understand and analyze people's felt experience with technology. At the beginning, I did the idea of explore more this concept, but since there is Virpi Roto later in the morning talking about this, I will leave this topic to Virpi and keep going with the usability. How to design a usable system? The HCI community in the years are developed a process called of human-centered design, whose main characteristics are understanding the users, their task, their context of use, and develop system iteratively through prototypes of different complexity, starting from paper prototype, and this prototype have to be evaluated possibly with users, but there are many other methods that, inspection methods, for example, that are good evaluation methods which not involve the user. So they have to be evaluated in any of the methods that we feel more useful for our evaluation. This process has been also illustrated in a revision of the ISO 9241, the part 210, which actually recalls a previous standard, which was the 13407 on human-centered design process for interactive systems. This is the flow, the process. You plan the human-centered design process, and the first activity is understand, specify the content of users, study and understand and specify the user requirement, and then design prototypes that are evaluated against the requirement, and if the evaluation shows that our design does not meet this requirement, we iterate and going to any one of back to any one of these activities. Only when the design meets the user requirement, we can go we can interrupt this iteration. Somebody feels that this cycle is too much costly, that using usability evaluation methods and usability engineering in general, which is a more general concept, is too much costly. So the question is usability worth? In other words, it is worth spending time trying to make the user interface of an interactive system usable. I want you to think about what I'm saying. There are studies that show that in today's interactive system, the user interface code is about 50% of the whole application code, and that user interface commands account for 40% of the development effort. As shown in, as indicated in a well-known book on software engineers, 80% of software lifecycle cost occur during the post-release maintenance phase, and of this cost, necessary maintenance, 80% is due to unmet or unforeseen user requirements, and only 20% to bugs of the code. It should be clear that a substantial amount of project lifecycle effort and resource is devoted to the user interface, which is, after all, the part of the system that use consider. All the rest is a black box they don't care about. So there is a great potential to make significant contribution to software quality by improving usability of the user interface. And this, I teach HCI to computer scientists, computer science students, computer scientists in general that are software developers, and I have to insist a lot on this to change their mindset. And user-centered design of software can reap both short-term and long-term benefits. By short-term benefits, I mean during product development, and long-term benefits, those that we have after the product is released on the market. So reduction in the development cost and time is certainly a crucial short-term benefit. How to get this? If you think about this, look, the cost of a change during development is 1 unit during the project definition, then it raises to up to 5 to 6 units during project development, and it raises much more to 60, 100 units during maintenance after project release. If we define the user requirements appropriately, if we develop the system through prototypes that are properly tested in the early phases of the development, we can reduce the overall cost of development, because we will be able to identify and resolve problems when the cost of changing them, solving them is not very high. Long-term benefits are those that are achieved when the system is released on the market, and there are studies that show that there are increases in sales revenues and user satisfaction, user productivities. People are satisfied because they are able to make less errors with the system, and there is a system that is easier to understand. The learning means that cost for training and support, for documentation, and all personnel for this are reduced. So all this shows that, it seems that usability engineering is a key area in software development. But it's then we'll see what happens in practice. Indeed, various methods of for usability engineering have been developed and assessed. For 4 years, I have been involved in a European project, a cost action sponsored by the European Community, which worked in this mouse project. The mission of this project was development, evaluation, and comparison of usability evaluation methods, aiming for results that can be transferred to industry and educators. So we always have this aim of transferring what we do in our research activity to industry. And a survey of these methods can be found in the proceedings of the closing conference of this project that actually we organized in Brindisi. Brindisi is a town south of 100 kilometers south of Bari in March 2009.